Good to see a lot of you today. Last week, a lot of us were dealing with health issues. Some were able to still come in and assist, and things were beautiful. But I'm going to take this brief moment and just reiterate some of what I said last week. When you can, please, saints, get some rest. Get some rest. Sometimes we push and we push and we push, and as we get a little older, uh, we just need to consider that. Now, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that we're to give up. We're not going to do that. But let's lean more into wisdom, and let's be a little more intentional concerning our health. All right. That was a public service announcement. We're going to return to Jeremiah in the 9th verse. And, yes, that would help. Jeremiah 9, not the 9th verse, chapter 9. And we'll go back to 22 and 23. And this time we're going to use the translation that most of us are familiar with, and we're going to hear it out of another translation. But let me start with 22 and 23, and it says, here is what Yah says. The wise man should not boast of his wisdom. The powerful should not boast of his power. The wealthy should not boast of his wealth. Instead, let the boaster boast about this, that he understands and knows me, that I am Yah, practicing grace, justice, and righteousness in the land. For in these things I take pleasure, says Yah. Practicing grace, justice, and righteousness in the land. For in these things I take pleasure. Earlier in my prayer, I was attempting to remind him, and again, I don't mean it any kind of way when I say what I'm saying. Saints, we frustrate him sometimes, and again, I'm saying this as part of the frustration. We frustrate him at times, and Jeremiah, that chapter, it's almost as if, for lack of a better way to say it, it's almost as if the Most High is kind of venting as you read many of the passages. And Uh, and, you know, I've been given some material, and I'm looking at a lot of material, but prophets, you know, they were the mouthpiece, you know, and you know, different schools of thought and, you know, different SECTS of people that study from the Hebraic perspective, and then the different denominations, they don't all quite agree when it comes to what we call prophets. And, you know, a lot of people have attached that title to their name, and I'm not going to get into that. That's above my pay grade. But at that time, prophets were the mouthpiece. And a lot of times, a lot of things that the prophets would share, you know, the people really didn't want to hear it because they were comfortable with tradition, with their particular schools, teachings. Some were in what we call rabbinics, and some were more of Talmudic teachings, and then you had different, I'll say, groups, you know, the Essenes, and you had a lot of people, and it's still like this today. You have a lot of people serving, believing that they're serving the Most High, and many may be sincere. But our sincerity pales in comparison to accurately following His order, doing things His way, and adhering to His setup. I'm going to read a little further, and then it'll start to kind of come together. It says in 24 and 25, it says, "The days are coming, says Yah, when I will punish all those who have been circumcised in their uncircumcision, Egypt, Judah, Edom, the people of Ammon, Moab, and all those living in the desert who cut the edges," and then in parentheses it has "of their beard." Listen to this. "For although all the," and they use the term going, but some might say heathen or whatever. "For although all the going are uncircumcised," and then here's the indictment. "For although all the Goyim are uncircumcised, all the house of Israel have uncircumcised hearts." Let me read it out of the version that we all grew up with. "Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will punish all them which are circumcised with the uncircumcised, Egypt and Judah and Edom and the children of Ammon and Moab, and all that are in the utmost corners that dwell in the wilderness, for all these nations are uncircumcised, and all the house of Israel are uncircumcised in the heart. Now, in studying that last phrase, it says, in this version, it says, all the house of Israel are uncircumcised in the heart. And, because of the way that we study, it's as if he's saying the house of Israel knew better. And in the other translation, it says they became circumcised in their uncircumcision. In other words, they knew what to do, but they began to be like those that weren't, and I'll put it this way, weren't believers. In other words, the believers start living lives and start carrying themselves as if they didn't know Yah. And even today, we have a lot of different programs. We've got a lot of there are some new translations coming out, and people are going to attempt to rewrite things in what we used to consider was the Holy Writ. And things are going to read a little differently. Well, I say a little, I'm being facetious. Things are going to read a lot differently. And because large segments of the population will say, this is so, they'll want this to be accepted as the same as what has been written and translated, and some transliterated from all the ages. You're going to have more and more self-proclaimed professors, self-proclaimed theologians, and whatever other fancy title they can come up with. Coming up with these, I'll be polite, with these philosophies. Saints, we're going to begin to hear people boldly, being bold with it, questioning what is truth. Because now we're in a segment now where everyone speaks their truth. The stage is being set that many will want to put their life's philosophy over top of Torah. And you've got so-called educated people. And he talks about some of them in here. We're gonna read some of it. And remember, I'm gonna be reading out of the book. I'm not making this up. I'm just reading what's in here. And I like this translation a lot because it talks more like we do today. What we came up with, it kind of sanitizes people's missteps. But in our doing this, in our going along with this, in our being quiet and not wanting to rock the boat because maybe we want to be in with certain people for for reasons unbeknown, known only to us. Pastor Hodge talks a lot about it. We don't realize how much we have assimilated, and we and believers I'm speaking about, we've become just as entitled as people that don't profess to know anything about the Most High. And it has, and I'll, be nice, it has displeased him. That's a word that's said a lot in churches. Sometimes we displease the Most High. 23 again. The wise should not boast of his wisdom. A lot of us do that. And the thing about it, a lot of what we boast about, a lot of the wisdom that we like to stick our chests out and say, well, I know this, and I studied under, and I studied with. There's a movie, and I haven't seen it in its entirety, but it's called Dumb and Dumber. I would love to get in a room with all of these so-called highfalutin eggheads, Mensa people, with all of this. Listen, this technology age, it's going to bring some good and it's going to bring some bad. But I'm going to tell you something. A lot of people that we have held in very high regard because of what school or whatever they went to, we're going to find out a lot of these people that have signed off, on people's degrees and all of these things that they're hanging out, they're going to find fraud. They're going to find a lot of these scientific studies, they fudged a lot of information to get a product to market. You see, even something like medicine changes because eventually enough people get together and they review a situation and they realize this was not the proper way to do things. I heard a commercial this week on TV when I was many moons ago, when I was married. My wife had uterine fibroid, and of course I was young and dumb. Sometimes still dumb, not so young. But she had to have a procedure and all of that. And then I heard a commercial just this past week, and they were acting, and they act like, we can do that, and it's next to nothing. But it was a big deal back in the 81. I think it was in 83 or 84. She had to have that procedure or whatever, and was laid up quite a while. But I'm bringing that up because now because of constant study, things have gotten better and they can do a procedure and it won't take so long. Remember, some things, they got this outpatient surgery? You know, things get better. Now, how did they get there? They got there because they kept looking at the procedures that they were doing, and they were saying, there has to be a better way. And what am I saying? I'm saying a lot of professors who we think are really smart, that taught us, maybe taught our kids, papers written, books written, DVDs sold. And man, I'm telling you, they're falling like the fraud is rampant. I said something a while back, and a major university that's held in high regard, the president had to resign. People's research is being questioned. And I mean, you know, these are the same pompous, and I'll keep it clean, people, but that's not what I want to call them, that are taking it upon themselves to formulate who passes, who gets the degree. You've got, again, self-professed, you stick in the title, deciding we're going to rewrite the scriptures. And we're not considering what does Yah have to say about that? Let me read a little further. These things annoy him. After all that he's done for us, we're pretty casual. We're pretty casual about a lot. We're dangerously casual. Let me read a little further. For although the Goyim are uncircumcised, all the house of Israel have uncircumcised hearts. Hear the word Yah speaks to you, house of Israel. Here is what Yah says. Don't learn the way of, and again, they use the term Goyim. We say heathen. Don't learn the way of the heathen. Don't be frightened by astrological signs, even if the heathen are afraid of them, for the customs of the peoples are nothing. And I know a lot of people, these next few verses, and I'm not getting into the controversy, but just hear a little bit about it. And it says, they cut down a tree in the forest. A craftsman works it with his axe. They deck it with silver and gold. They fix it with hammer and nails so that it won't move. Like a scarecrow in a cucumber patch, it cannot speak. It has to be carried because it cannot walk. Don't be afraid of it. It can do nothing bad. It can do nothing bad. But then he says, likewise, it is unable to do anything good. Now, you know, a lot of us will come almost to blows about what I just read. But I didn't read it for that reason. I'm reading it again. It says, don't be afraid of it. It can do nothing bad. Likewise, it is unable to do anything good. Then he goes on. There is no one like you. Yah. Jeremiah speaking. You are great and your name is great and mighty. Who would not fear you, King of the nations? for it is your due. Since among all the wise of the nations and among all their royalty, there is no one like you. And then listen to this, because this describes a lot of the elite. I'll put it that way. He says, one and all, they are boorish and stupid. The teaching of their nothings is a piece of wood. Silver is beaten into plates, then imported from Tarshish. Gold from Uphaz is worked by a craftsman and shaped by the hands of a goldsmith. They are clothed in blue and purple, all the work of skillful men. But Yah, God is the true God, the living God, the everlasting King. At his anger, the earth trembles. The nations cannot endure his fury. You know, oftentimes in houses of worship, it's rarely ever discussed about how sometimes we may annoy him. We, you know, and we've been given a type of gospel where we think we're always precious. And yes, we are, but sometimes we're not. And sometimes it's uncomfortable to even, you know, some of us might even have a problem even seeing ourselves less than anything other than precious. Especially if we had a half hour or 45 minutes to get ourselves together and put our outfit on, come in and think we smelling good, know we looking good. You know, saints, sometimes in reading this, I wonder sometimes about my, the line I came out of, the tribe I came out of. I wonder what those that caught hell, that I came out of that line, I wonder what they would think of me if they saw me. I'm not even getting to the Most High. I'm just thinking of those that came before me, that I came out of that line. I just wonder what they would think about the way that we lived, the way that we are. You know, some of us, we don't want to think about where we come from. I wonder, you know, I wonder what they would think. And I'm just thinking of my line. I'm thinking about my line. I'm not, I'm thinking of, you know, the way I live, the way I carry myself. You know, when I'm walking around being an arrogant jackass, I wonder what they would think when I think, you know, I've arrived. And they paid the price. I wonder what they would think. I think about stuff like that. Mm, mm, mm. Who would not fear you, King of the nations? For it is your due, since among all the wise of the nations and among all their royalty, there is no one like you. One and all, they are boorish and stupid. Their teachings of their nothings is a piece of wood. Mm, mm, mm. But Yah is the true God, the living God, the everlasting King. At his anger, the earth trembles. At his anger, the earth trembles. And we got people walking around thinking they all that and then some. Because of where they went to school. Or if they went to school. We got people that think they too good to speak to some people. We think we got people that because well, I won't get into that, but can you imagine what your Creator is thinking when we do one another that way? But Adonai is the true God, the living God, the everlasting King. At his anger, the earth trembles. The nations cannot endure his fury. You know, and we all, you know, if we're not careful, we're always going around talking about what we deserve. If we got what we deserve, none of us would be here. None of us would be here. And all your professors and all the people you've been dying to rub shoulders with and all your social climbing and all that, they going too. All the people you hold in such high regard. Man, none of us would be here. You know, listen. He promised us by a rainbow that what? I won't destroy the earth again by water. Let me say that again. He said by water. Now, him being who he is, and I said that on purpose, because see, there's even an attack on who he is. We got to be careful with some of these philosophies that's coming out. Folks, don't attach yourself to a lot of people. Listen at the terminology that people are using. There's a whole lot of freaks trying to make it normal. Be careful. Be careful. Then he says, this is what you must say to them. Now this is Yah. The gods, little g, the gods that did not make heaven and earth will perish from earth and from under heaven. Yah made the earth by his power, established the world by his wisdom. We learned, for lack of a better word, we learned that was primordial matter. Yah has made the earth by his power, established the world by his wisdom, spread out the sky by his understanding. When he thunders, the waters in heaven roar. He raises clouds from the ends of the earth. He makes the lightning flash in the rain and brings the wind out of his storehouses. At this, everyone is proved stupid. Man, I'd like to get all this so-called brainiacs and read this. And in my own sin, I'd also like to punch them in their face. And I know that's wrong. But it would give me, it would give me some sense. Listen, folks, Pop has said, and he's right, we have been tricked. We've been tricked. And some of us have lapped that stuff up. We've patterned our lives like that. And that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to take inventory. And I don't even want to think about what he thinks of me. I start thinking about those that I don't know, but I came from them. And I'm saying, what would they think of me? What would they think of me? Say, hey, man, see, some of us would say, well, show them where you live. Tell them you got 2 cars. What? Tell them you went to university. That's what the British always say. They don't say they went to college. We went to university. I do like the way they talk, Folks, we are so pompous. We are so pompous. Let me read that again. Yah made the earth by his power, established the world by his wisdom, spread out the sky by his understanding. When he thunders, the waters in heaven roar. He raises clouds from the ends of the earth. He makes the lightning flash in the rain and brings the wind out from his storehouses. At this, everyone is proved stupid. So why are we walking around like we something? See, I like this translation a lot better. Because all these these and thous and all that, sometimes that kind of throw you off. And let me say this. We are special, but we're only special because he made us special. But not special to the point where we become arrogant. Not special to the point where we become pompous. Not special to where we actually look down on people because we got 15 cents more than they do. Where did we get that from? Can't talk to this one because they didn't go to the right school. Or they didn't go to school at all. Not realizing even that, and listen, I'm not knocking education, I'm not. I bought into that myself. Yes, sir. All of us was taught, hey, go to school, get that free education, go to college, to what? Get a job. And I'm not knocking, listen, listen, you gotta support yourself. You gotta support yourself. See, I know we got a lot of programs, but ain't nothing free. Even the stimulus checks, they not free. And folks, the bill getting ready to come due, but that's not part of this today. I'm glad that one of the deacons got some. You need to be here next week at 10 if you can. I'm serious. I'm serious. Some information that you should know is going to be shared so that none of you will be able to say, well, I didn't know that. There's more to life than tea parties, and I'm not talking about the political tea party. Yes, life is to be celebrated, you bet. But that's not all there is to life. I love this. At this, everyone is proved stupid, ignorant, every goldsmith put to shame by his idol. And see, that's another thing. See, a lot of times we don't realize when we hear idols, you know, some of us, we think, well, I don't, yeah. Sometimes we can be our own idol. And I love them to pieces. Sometimes our children could be an idol. Sometimes maybe our spouse. Not so much nowadays, but sometimes pastors were idols. I don't think politicians ever were, but you know, some, you know. You be, listen, even a mindset can be an idol. When you start what you call, what some people will call meditation, and I'm not saying don't meditate on the word, yes, you should. But man tends to kind of go off the deep end. I'm trying to think of that sect that thought Gnostics. They were a sect, they considered themselves believers. And they would go off, you know, in the mountains or whatever, and they would come up with a lot of strange doctrine. And they really believed that this information that came to them, they would say it came from Yah. And I have said in times past, you know, a lot of people will get up and they'll tell you, you know, I know God. I know God. I know God speaks to me. And I'm not saying he doesn't. Again, that's above my pay grade. And while I fit in this stupid and ignorant category, I got sense enough to know we all need to be careful when saying that kind of stuff. I'm not saying that he doesn't. Again, I'm not qualified. I'm like anybody else. But this, some people would say, oh, well, they're bold in the Lord. Well, you know, sometimes saints can be bulls in china shop. And sometimes, you know, when you're in the presence of the Most High, you ain't doing a whole lot of strutting and talking. You shouldn't be. Now, in the West, particularly in this country, most everyone likes to show you how smart they are. And we learned a long time ago, remain quiet and let those that have some real knowledge, let them speak. But you get a group together and somebody wants to, a crowd incites, I-N-C-I-T-E-S. It incites some people. They feel like, I gotta say something. Crowd of people. Now we want to show them what we know. And see, what you don't realize is after you've done that, everybody can size you up. You shot your whole wad. You have nothing else to contribute. The figures he casts are a fraud. There is no breath in them. They are nothings, ridiculous objects. When the day for their punishment comes, they will perish. Jacob's portion is not like these, for he is the one who formed all things. Israel is the tribe he claims as his heritage. Yah is his name. You who are living under the siege, gather your belongings off the ground, for here is what Yah says. At this time, I am slinging away the inhabitants of the land. I will distress them so that they will feel it. See, sometimes, saints, and we don't get a lot of this. Yeah, and I've said it repeatedly, and again, I'm not saying it like I'm in the know. I ain't in the know. I'm in the stupid, ignorant crowd, according to what he said. But even I have a morsel of strength that I realize every time the heat gets turned up in our lives, it's not always the devil. But see, that's the way we've been taught. Sometimes he's applying pressure because he wants us to move a certain way. And we've gotten set in our ways. We've decided, I don't want to hear what that guy's got. I don't like the way he talks. You're spoiling my evening, mister. You know, listen. Truly, you know how we might can check ourselves? And I know, again, I know a lot of us, we love to cling on to come boldly before the throne of grace that thou might obtain mercy. Listen, when you really in the presence of the Most High, I'm usually a blubbering mess. You know how some people cry ugly? I cry ugly. You know, some of y'all might say, well, Barry, you ugly anyway, but that's, okay, that's your opinion. But what I'm saying is, see, when you can get up and you can, man, you all in yourself. That's your ego. That's not the spirit of the living God. That's your ego. If it ain't your ego, it's your emotions. And I'm not discrediting emotions. But truly, when you're in the presence of greatness, you realize how great you're not. So, and I'm saying that because it's a whole lot of folk, man. You know, sometimes you might want to, oh, Lord, if they're going to get up, let me get out of here. Because when that lightning hit, you know, you ever been in the company of somebody talking a whole lot of stuff? And it's like, hey, man, do they realize that he can make it so we never existed? That's who he is. Oh, my goodness. And your organization and your group, and I don't care how many seminars, I don't care how many books you sold, how many tapes. It doesn't matter. Well, see here, I'm a part of this movement. Oh, so what? Everybody going over the cliff. Because again, what? You got the blind leading the blind. You got people all out of position, all out of order, and I'm going with it anyhow. Like, and you think well, listen, it appears that when we irritate him, in his love, sometimes the correction isn't pleasant. Sometimes the correction isn't pleasant. Some of you all, most of you all have children. Can you think back the first time when you had to discipline them? And I'm not talking about, Tommy, go to your room. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you had to discipline them. You know, when you had to discipline them. Or if you can't remember that, how about can you think back when your parents first had to discipline you? And because I'm picking the time when you were still cute in their eyes. And they told you, don't do that. We kept doing it. Don't do that. No, not your parents. You might remember that. What about your grandparents? Because grandparents let the grandchildren do stuff you never got to do. Man, I remember when Arthur and Sherry, I don't know how I missed out on that. They used to go to my dad's mom's house, and she would take flour and spread it down. They had a long hallway. She would take flour and spread it down the hallway and let Arthur and Sherry in their socks slide down there. Flour. And they had nice wood floors. See, I never got to do that. By being a middle kid, I sometimes, when it was always the good stuff, I was too young. When the bad stuff, you too old to be acting like that. So I got a complex. But what I'm saying is, listen, listen, it pains him that we're not following his instruction. Even when he corrects us, sometimes, now I'm not saying he up there boo-hooing like that, but even in his irritation, he's like, boy, and we got to understand, we do that when we don't do what he say do. Or we do what he say, but we're doing it our way. See, he not only wants you to do what he say, he wants you to do it the way he said it, because the way he said it helps you to avoid some challenges. And again, I'm not saying this like I'm in the know. I'm saying this because this is what came to me in studying. And see, we don't listen. We want our lives to go well. If we want our lives to go well, then let's do it his way. Let's do it his way. Let's do what he say and do it his way. Oh, I'm running out of time. He said, I will distress them so that they will feel it. I mean, even right now, folks, you know, and again, I'm not getting into uh, it's a season. I'll just put it that way. It's a season, and I hope you get some days off. If you get some days off, get some rest. You know, get some rest. But listen at this. You know, right now there's a lot of stress. A lot of people stressing out. Some people worried about something that's going, you know, as far as the United States, they worried about something that's going to happen in January. And all, you know, and see, you got the content creators, they working overtime. And they want you to click on that, and they got all this bad stuff that they think is going to happen. And it might. It might. I told you, I don't feel so good. See, and I don't feel so good not because I don't have faith in the Most High. It's because I got faith in the Most High. And I realize when he gets irritated, he's going to distress us. Not so much the devil. See, he will distress us because he loves us. Some of you were still here when my mom was there, and my mother used to teach. She said, listen, sometimes, folks, the last stage that he brings us to get us to turn around, she said, it's called agony. And that's true. Because sometimes you get to a point, ain't nothing working in life, and it forces you to finally look at you and stop blaming other people. Stop blaming the government. Now, I'm not saying that their hands are clean, but I'm telling you, more of us have signed up and are still participating in the Victim Olympics. Get out of that. When they send you an invitation, say, no thanks. I've competed, I got some medals, I want to win some other kind of medals. I don't need any more victim medals. And that's the attitude you're going to need for this coming year. I'm telling you, it's still a time where we can prosper, regardless of what's going on in a certain city. I'm down to my last minute. I didn't get very far, but that's all right. I will distress them so that they will feel it. And you know, again, in my prayer, I was like, all I'm asking, and I think we all can agree, it's like, you know, it's almost like this is what we're saying. Well, no, let me get it back, because I don't want to put none of this on you. I just ask that when I got something coming and it ain't pleasant, I'm like, it's almost like I'm saying, Daddy, I know I got it coming, but please have mercy. Have mercy. Now, that don't have mercy don't mean he gonna not do it. Oh, you gonna get a whipping, or I'm gonna get a whipping. But I'm just, you know, have mercy. And have your parents ever told you when they was wearing you out that it hurt them more than it hurt you? Well, that's kind of how, no, seriously. That's kind of how, I'm telling you, he would rather we just do what he say the way he said it, because obedience is better than sacrifice. God bless you. We'll see you next time.